What's up guys, it's Jim with Awakened TCG, bringing you guys another video today, and today we are going to be talking about the 6 new starter decks coming out over in the East on July 13th, which is, I think, a little between 2 and 3 weeks here. And these leaders, if you do not know guys, for these starter decks are all reprint leaders. These are the existing leaders that have already came out in prior sets. As in, starting on the top left here, red Edward Newgate, green Film Uta, blue Doflamingo from OPO1, purple Luffy from OPO5, black Smoker from OPO2, and yellow Kata Curry for OPO3. These are all made as reprint leaders with a lot of reprint cards in their decks. However, each one of these decks comes with 5 new cards to support each of their respective archetypes. As you can see right here, all 6 of these leaders are back. It's going to be ST15 through ST20. It is going to be obviously a deck of 50 cards. This is a starter deck, and we're getting 10 Don cards, you know, the usual. And these are the breakdowns for this. But I wanted to go over all the new cards today. It is a lot of cards, as it is 5 per deck. So we are going to go through them pretty fast, but let's go ahead and check out the 5 new cards included in every single one of these decks. And starting off with red here, we actually have Atmos is going to be a 4/5 1,000 counter with the Whitebeard Pirates type. And he's just going to read, when attacking, if your leader is Edward Newgate, you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects during this turn. So, pretty interesting card for at least Edward Newgate leader. As obviously taking life with that leader is, you know, if you had the choice not to do it, right? If it was easy enough, you would probably want to do that. On a 4/5 body that needs to attack, though, in order to do that effect, that's not even that mandatory. You know, Newgate's kind of just take life willy-nilly, counter out with Rad Beam, and use blockers in the later stages of the game. So I don't think it matters that much. It would have to be maybe an on-play. When attacking is just way too slow. And next up here, we actually have Edward Newgate himself as a 7-cost, 8,000 power with no counter, and the 4 Emperors and a Whitebeard Pirates type. It's going to read, on play, you can give your leader or one of your characters up to 1 rested Dawn, and then activate main, you may rest this character. KO one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5,000 or less power. So obviously this was printed in this leader, which is the OPO2 Whitebeard. But the leader I think this is going to be insanely strong in, and probably what they were thinking when they printed it is the new Marco leader in OPO8. Obviously that card requires a Dawn on leader, so the on-play effect immediately does that. We can minus 2,000 power with Marco leader and bring something down to 5k if it was a 7k, and now activate this effect and just KO it on the same turn. So I think playing out a 7/8, using Marco effect in the same turn and KOing a 7,000 character sounds really, really strong. So at least in that deck, we're 100% playing this card. Next up here, we have Kingdo is a 3/4 with a 1,000 counter, and the Whitebeard Pirates type. It's going to have blocker, and then on opponent's turn, when this character is KO'd by your opponent's effect, up to 1 of your leaders gains 2,000 power for the turn. So pretty solid, I think, right? If we're playing against black and they want to try to go for game, they really can't clear this, or you're kind of beating yourself at that point, because now your Whitebeard is an 8k leader for the turn. I don't know how needed this is for the deck. I'm not necessarily a Whitebeard player, but I could see it being played. Next up here, we have Thatch is a 1/2 2k counter, so this is another 2k counter Whitebeard Pirate card. It's going to be on play. If your leader has Whitebeard Pirates included in its types, give up to 1 of your opponent's characters minus 2k power for the turn. Then put the top card of your life into your hand. So it is basically an Otama that takes 1 of your life cards, but it is searchable. So honestly, I don't know if Whitebeard was running Otama anyway, and I really don't know if they would run this card. Maybe just because I think Jozu is like the only searchable Whitebeard Pirate 2k in red right now, so maybe they do run this just to have more, but I could be wrong. And last but not least for this Whitebeard deck, we have a new Portgosti Ace card. It's going to be a 5/6 with 1,000 counter, and the Whitebeard Pirates type. It's going to read, if your leader has Whitebeard Pirates included in its types, this character has Rush. So in any Whitebeard Pirates deck, we have a 5/6 Rush, already good. But that is not all. Once per turn, if this character would be removed from play by one of your opponent's effects, so this includes any effect, bottom deck, KO, whatever else, instead you may give this character minus 2,000 power for this turn. Really good. Obviously, preventing removal is just insanely strong, especially on just a card that's getting 5/6 rush. It is a bit awkward, obviously, because if you want to prevent the removal, now it is going to be a 4K power, which is just easy to swing into after the fact. So if like I'm playing black, I could easily see myself just KOing this, forcing your effect, and now I'm going to attack into it. It's going to be really easy because it has no power at all. So really cool card that I think is good for the archetype, but I could also see it not being played. And now getting into the green starter deck. Remember, this is going to be the green Uta deck. And getting into Uta first here is a new 4/6 film type card. It's going to be a blocker. So a 4/6 blocker is really good. It's going to be activate main once per turn. You can trash one film type card from your hand. And then give your leader or up to one of your characters up to one Arrested Dawn. So very expensive effect for just getting a Arrested Dawn card, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, this is a 4/6 blocker, which is like pretty incredible already. And attaching a Arrested Dawn to your leader allows you to use leader effect on green Uta in particular. But trashing a whole card from hand for the effect seems pretty bad. So for that reason, I would probably say, oof, we might not run this, even though 4/6 blocker sounds really nice. Next up here, we have Gordon, is a 2/0 1,000 counter film blocker. With the effect, on your opponent's attack, you can trash any number of music type cards from your hand. Your leader or one of your characters gains 1,000 power during this battle for every card trashed. So this is only for the battle, this is not for the turn. So this basically converts non-counter music cards, which are like those Uta events that that every single Uta deck is using, converts them now into 1K counters. Pretty solid. 2/0 blocker is very, very removable, so they can kind of just remove it before this effect ever gets off. So are we playing this? I might even say probably not. Next up here, we have Kata Curry, is a 3/4,000 power, 1,000 counter film and Big Mom Pirates type card. And it is going to read, if your leader has the film type and you have 6 or more rested cards, which is pretty easy. This includes Dawn and characters, or even your leader. This character gains 2,000 power. So this is basically a 3/6 at all times after you play it. So it's like a super vanilla, basically, with 1,000 counter, which in a Uta deck sounds okay. Obviously, this is not doing anything on play, so if it gets removed by, the multitude of decks that can remove this card, law, whatever else, it doesn't get any value. So for that reason, maybe this card isn't too good, but I kind of like it, so looking forward to seeing if this is ran. Next up here, though, we have an awesome card. It's going to be Shanks, a 9/11, which I think is a stat line on a boss monster we've never seen. It's usually 9/10 or 9/9. But this one is going to be on play. You can KO up to one of your opponent's arrested characters. A very simple effect, but very strong effect, right? No matter the cost, no matter the power, as long as the card does not say it cannot be KO'd, if that card is arrested, boom, Shanks can target it, it's dead. Insanely strong card. And I think a much needed card for green, and I'm glad it's not archetype locked. And last up here for Uta, we have a new 2K counter for film. It is going to be a 2/3 with the film, Straw Hat Pirate type, and I think the worst generation type. I could be wrong on that, but it's going to be, if your Uta is arrested, this character has 1,000 power. So obviously this includes your leader. We're assuming we're playing this in the Uta leader, but a 2/4 we're really not playing. We already have 2 searchable 2K counters, so maybe you're playing this instead of Chopper. It has a little more use than Chopper, I think. So that's really the only reason I could see us playing this. So other than that, pretty underwhelming card. Now getting into our new blue Doflamingo starter deck, though, we have a lot of strong cards to go through. Starting off here with Crocodile, is a 4/5,000 power with 1,000 counter Warlord and Baroque Works characters, so obviously this is playable off Dofi leader effect. It's going to be on play. You can reveal one card from the top of your deck. If that card has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, draw 2 cards and place 1 card from your hand on the top of your deck. This card is like God. If you're a Dofi player, you are loving to see this, right? We have draw, which Dofi really needs and really likes. And we have an instant guaranteed leader effect, right? If you just wanted to play this out and then guarantee with your next 3 Dawn, we can use leader effect and play out the 4 costs that we want. Really just adding insane consistency to this deck and probably one of your best targets you can see. That's not like your 6Ks and usual stuff that Dofi wants to see. So great inclusion to the deck, but honestly, we've been getting so much 4-cost Warlord support. I really don't know if Dofi needs any more. He might become a problem soon. And next up here, we have Trafalgar Law is a 4/5 with 1,000 counter, and the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, and the Heart Pirates. It's going to be on play. You can return one of your characters to its owner's hand. If your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, return up to 1 4 or lower character to its owner's hand. So removal in Doflamingo is pretty rare, at least on characters. They usually run the 7-cost event, the bottom deck's 2 cards, or even Red Rocks, stuff like that. This is giving them the low-to-the-ground removal that they kind of were missing, and it is for a pretty cheap effect, right? We're already playing cards like Perona, so if we play this off leader effect, you can bounce that Perona back to hand, which you pretty much already wanted to do, because now we're getting off leader effects again for a 1-Dom Perona. And now we're bouncing back one of our opponent's threats at the same time. This card is ridiculous. Obviously a 4-of in this deck for sure. And next up here we have Buggy himself. Is a 1/2 with 2k counter. So a 2k counter for the deck is always good. And the 7 Warlords of the Sea and Buggy Pirates type. Basically, this is going to do on play. You can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then place them in any order on the top of your deck. So this is like a 2k counter baby Perona, but it only looks at top 3. Also, you do not have the choice to put them on bottom. So if you see these 3 on top, none of them are 4-cost Warlords, you're like, I don't like what I see. You know, tough luck. You have to leave them there. So this is a lot less flexible than Perona. But obviously being a 2k counter and a target that we can play off leader effect, right? If we had no Perona early and we were just doing leader effect raw, getting this out is good, you know, better than nothing, right? So for that reason, I could definitely see this deck running this card. Also still grabbable back off stuff like 4-cost Moria that grabs Warlords from trash. Stuff like that. So I could definitely see us running for this card for sure. And last but not least for this deck is a new Boa Hancock SR. It's going to be a 4/6 with no counter and the 7 Warlords of the Sea type. It's going to be a blocker, so another 4/6 blocker. 4/6 blocker is a really, really good stat line for a blocker. And it's going to be on play. You can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then place them in any order at the top or bottom of your deck. So very same as Buggy, but now we can put them to the bottom. Already very strong effect for the deck. Then give up to 1 of your 7 Warlords of the Sea type leader or characters, up to 1 Rested Dawn. What? When I saw this card, I was confused. Okay, why do we have a 4/6 stat line? At the same time, we're a blocker. At the same time, we look at the top 3 and organize them, which is perfect for Dofi. And at the same time, we're attaching Arrested Dawn. This card does like a million things in one. This is like the god card for Dofi. I don't know why they printed this. They are really trying to push Dofi and make this good. This card is insane. It does 15 things on one card. You can even, like, if you get this off Dofi effect, getting a 6k is already like your best option. But now you can use the on play, right? The on play of this card is going to go off before you're on attacking. Before your attack with Dofi goes through, so you can just attach that to Dofi, and now we're swinging 8k. Hilarious card. Very strong. Also, not to mention, if we are on 6 Dawn, you can actually just play this out. Look at the top 3, set up your 4-cost, attach that rest of Dawn. So now we have 2 Dawn left after we spent 4 out of 6. And then we attach 1 more to leader and use leader effect in that same turn while getting a 4/6 blocker and whatever we saw on the top 3. So Yeah. This card might make Dofi go overboard. I wouldn't doubt it. The board flood is going to be insane. The amount of good targets you have now, like you might not, like you're gonna run Prona and stuff, but you really wouldn't need to if you just ran all of them. So this deck's gonna be ridiculous, guys. Definitely looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. But let's go ahead and get into our next card here. It's going to be Marshall D. Teach. Is a 2/3 with 1,000 counter and the 7 Willards of the Sea type. It's going to be activate to main once per turn. You can place one card from your hand at the top of your deck. So immediately this card sets up leader effect with whatever you have in your hand. So increasing consistency. Only issue is it is technically a discard 1 from hand because you are negging 1 from hand. Usually Doflamingo gets the benefit of playing cards from deck, so you don't actually lose out on playing cards out of hand. This is kind of getting rid of that plus side, except now you're increasing consistency. Sorry, let me stop yapping, but after you place the card from hand at the top of your deck, you can attach up to 2 Rested Dawn to one of your leader characters. So obviously, this is immediately getting off leader effect. So just completely increasing the consistency of this deck. Honestly, with all the good cards now, I don't know how needed this card will be. Like, you don't really need or want to take cards out of your hand like that when you don't have to. I'd rather play like a Prona and play something from deck. So obviously you can use this every turn after the fact, but if we're just continually taking cards out of hand, we're going to lose card advantage real quick, especially because we're playing rested characters off leader effect. So I don't know how good this is in Dofi. I was thinking this is kind of cool in Blue-Yellow Ace. As a Blue-Yellow Ace fanatic, this seems really good in that deck. Obviously, 2 Rested Dawn on leader is automatically using leader effect, and putting 1 card from your hand is guaranteeing some of your small brother effects too. So let me not talk about my favorite leader. We're here to talk about Dofi, but let's get into our next color here. We're going to go into our purple Luffy reprint leader here. And we're getting a pretty much all purple Straw Hat support. First up here being Usopp is a 3/3 2K counter. So a new 2K counter for the archetype, and it's going to read on play. If you have 8 or more Dawn, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So the 5 cost stat line is always really, really important to hit. And just having 8 or more Dawn is very easy for this deck. Playing a 3/3 when you're at 8 Dawn is like not usually what you want to do, but if we're in a position where we can go for game, having this card as an option and a searchable 2K counter is fantastic. So definitely one you'd probably run a 4 of in any like Straw Hat package. Next up here, we've got a new NAMI card. It's going to be a 4/2 1,000 counter blocker with the Straw Hat type. It's going to be on play if you have 8 or more Dawn on your field. Trash 1 card from your hand and then draw 2 cards. So just a 4/2 blocker that is going to draw 2, trash 2. Or sorry, draw 2, trash 1. Basically, in the opposite order, right? You have to trash 1 first and then draw 2, which is always worse than draw 2, trash 1. Because you could have trashed a card and then, drawn another card that you would have rather trashed. But pretty solid, easily removable with that low stat line, especially against RP Law. So for that reason, at least in this current meta, I probably couldn't see this being played. Next up here, we've got SGORO. Is a 5/6 with 1,000 counter. And the Straw Hat type, it is going to be when attacking once per turn. If you have 8 or more Dawn, draw 1 card. Very simple effect, but honestly, really strong effect. The ability to draw a card every turn just by attacking sounds very, very strong, especially considering the card we're going to see up here very soon. So really like this card, very simple, but I could definitely see it being ran. Especially in Purple Luffy that likes to ramp to bigger things, right? If we're on 4 Dawn, playing this out on 5/6 sounds pretty solid. So, getting to our next card here is going to be RORAN Zoro. Or Zoro Jiro, if we are talking about his Wano name. It's also the name of this card. It's going to be a Straw Hat Pirates type character. It's going to be read on play. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 purple Straw Hat type card, and put it into your hand. Then place the rest of cards on any order at the bottom of your deck. So this is literally just a 4/6 that's a searcher, right? Your usual top 5 searchers are 1/2s. This is a solid statted body that is also a Straw Hat searcher. Insane in Luffy. You already want to go first and then ramp to 4 and play something. This gives you the perfect slot to play because Luffy was already playing 4/6 vanillas that didn't do anything. Now we have a 4-6 vanilla. Sure, it doesn't have counter, but now we're able to search top 5 for the Straw Hat. Obviously, we have to run like a really dense Straw Hat package to play this card, but with these new good cards getting added, I think it might be a viable option. And last but not least here for the deck, we have a new Luffy himself. It's going to be a 7-8 with no counter. It's going to be the Straw Hat type as well, obviously. And then on play, it's going to be Dom -1. You can play up to 1 purple Straw Hat crew type character card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. So obviously we just looked at a couple great options for that, because at the moment there's actually not really any good Straw Hat crew type purple characters, at least, with a cost of 5 or less to play off this card. So thankfully we got some good targets. Obviously it's only 2. I don't know if that's enough for us to consider playing this card, but developing an 8K and either of those 6K bodies in the same turn is going to be very good, especially if we ramped from 3 to 4 Dawn on our second turn and from 6 to 7 Dawn on our next turn. So really cool card, and I think it is going to help the archetype out a lot, because if we can board swarm while gaining Dawn advantage on our opponent, it's going to be really hard for them to actually remove that board on the next turn that they have. So really good card, and hopefully boost the deck and the archetype. Now getting into the Black Smoker deck. Really glad they chose Black Smoker for this list instead of something like another maybe CP, CP9 Rob Lucci back in OP03, because my boy Smoker definitely needed some support. So let's go ahead and get into the support that they gave him. It's going to be a 6-8 Smoker with the Navy type, and on play, you can trash 1 black Navy type card from your hand. And then up to 2 of your opponent's cost 4 or less characters cannot attack during your opponent's next turn. So, very interesting, because we have never seen this effect in black to actually lock down a character like that. Unless we're talking about, I think Hina, the 5/6 Hina blocker did that, but that was on block. This was not a on play ability, so it's a little bit different. And now that we're in black, 4 less is very, very easy. With Smoker effect, obviously now this turns it into a 5 and a 4. You combine any more cost reduction, right? Now we're locking 2 very, very threatening cards on a 6-8 body. So this card's really good. Obviously you have to trash a card, but I think the effect in a lot of scenarios is going to be very, very worth it. Next up here we have a new Sengoku card. It's going to be a 1/1 with 1,000 counter in the Navy type. It's going to be on play. You can trash 2 black Navy type cards from your hand. If your leader has the Navy type, draw 3 cards. So trash 2 cards and draw 3 cards. Obviously very, very similar to Shirahoshi in yellow. That card though, we're mainly trying to get it off trigger. You don't like playing it out, but this card is 1 cost. So very different. You are completely locked into the Navy archetype, as you have to trash 2 Navy cards. But a deck like Smoker does not have the trash building ability that decks like Lucci or Moria do. So this card might even be a necessity in that deck, because black lives off building trash nowadays. And if you can't build trash as a black deck, you're just not going to be able to stand up. So this might be a needed card in the deck. Obviously a 1/1 stat line is really weak. So if we don't have to play this card, I'd be happy, but we might have to. And next up here, a very strong card is going to be a new Tashigi, 5/6 with 1,000 counter and the Navy type. It's going to be on play. If your leader is Smoker, give up to 1 of your opponent's characters -4 cost for the turn. So already a 5/6 body that's minusing 4 is really strong, very similar to 3/5 Hina. It's going to be activate main once per turn. If it is the turn this character was played, place up to 1 of your opponent's cost 0 characters into its owner's trash. Incredible card, guys. Minusing 4 and then removing that same card you just minused with the card for free in the same turn is great. Not to mention the fact this is not a KO ability. This is a straight to trash, similar to 6 cost Brook or something like Nightmare Luffy. Getting around cannot be KO'd effects in decks like Black Luffy and stuff, which is very important in a black deck nowadays. Not to mention, if we're on 6 Dawn and we just do Smoker Leader effect after the fact, you can minus a 5 cost all the way down to 0, right? So we're on 6 Dawn, they just played a 5 cost. It works out perfectly. This card is incredible, and I'm really, really looking forward to playing it in Smoker for sure. And last up here, sorry, second to last up here, we have Hina, looking fantastic in the art. That's all I'm going to say. Is a 4/6 vanilla stat line with the Navy type. It's going to be Dawn X1. During opponent's turn, this character has +4 cost. So very similar effect to the 7 cost Jack, making this card very hard to remove versus opposing black decks or even blue decks, because now this card is jumping out of the range of stuff like Raging Tiger. And then it's going to be activate main once per turn. You can place 1 card from your trash on the bottom of your deck. Give your leader up to one of your characters up to 1 rested Dawn card. So, the cost of placing 1 card from the trash at the bottom of the deck is very low. That's a pretty easy ask. Obviously, we want to have as many cards in trash for black as we can, so we don't want to overuse this effect, especially when we don't have a lot of options in trash. But it's basically a free effect, all things considered. And now we're getting Smoker effect for free every single turn on a body that's really hard to get rid of. So, I think really good in Smoker in particular. I don't know how much you'd play this in other black decks. I know I saw a lot of people talking about Moria. You can actually play this off 8 cost Moria on 10 Dawn, attaching 1 rested Dawn to leader, and then after that using your 2 extra Dawn to put 1 more on leader, your 2 extra Dawn to just tap for leader effect, which means you can play this out with Moria, and with those remaining 2 Dawn, play out something like another Absalom from trash after, say, we played this in a Helmeppo. Disgusting combos, all things considered, in that deck. Like, I do not even want to think about that. But yeah, really good card, and cannot wait to see where it goes. And last up here for our black deck, we have GARP. Is a 3/4 1,000 counter blocker Navy type card. It's going to read activate main once per turn. You can place 1 card from your trash at the bottom of your deck, so another pretty easy ask. And then give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. This one, guys, I think is pretty bad. It's just a 3/4 blocker, very easy to remove with a pretty lackluster effect, all things considered. This one is, I'd say, one of the only cards in this whole video that I can pretty much guarantee we are never playing. Next up here, getting into the yellow Kata Curry deck, giving more support and breathing life back into the yellow Big Mom Pirates archetype. First up here, we have 5/6 Kata Curry himself with 1,000 counter. It's going to be a blocker as well, and the Big Mom Pirates type. It's going to read activate main once per turn. You may turn the top card of your life cards face up. So, pretty easy ask, all things considered. Obviously, if your life is already face up, you cannot do it. But usually it is. The only thing is now, turning that face up is getting rid of the surprise factor. And then all we're getting for that is give your leader or up to one of your characters up to 1 rested Dawn. So obviously a 5/6 blocker is always good. This is giving us leader effect every turn without having to play off curve. So I think that's cool. Like, we can play a 10 cost Big Mom and use leader effect in the same turn. But I think the strength of yellow, especially Kata Curry, is the unpredictability of your life cards and your opponent not really being able to play around them because they don't know which one they have to play around. So for that reason, I would not be surprised if this card didn't get played, although I definitely think it's strong for sure. Next up here, we have Cracker. Is a 4/5 1,000 counter Big Mom Pirates type card. It is going to be once per turn when this character would be KO'd by an effect. You may instead trash the top card of your life, and then on trigger, you can trash 1 card and play the card, so very similar to all yellow triggers for the most part. But yeah, basically, being unable to be KO'd at the cost of trashing a life card, I don't like it, honestly. Like, this is not 7 cost Enel. This is a small little 5k body that we really don't have to worry about, and I would not want to save for a whole life card, honestly. Like, the only deck I can see this being played in is like a full trigger aggro deck that like every single card in your life is always going to be a character trigger. Other than that, though, you're probably not playing this in Kata. Next up here, though, we have a fantastic card. It's going to be Brule. It is a 3/3 2K counter, so another Big Mom Pirate searchable counter, if they didn't already have enough. It's going to be on trigger, as it has no on-play effect. You can look at the top card of your opponent's life and put it back on the top or bottom of the life pile. Then add this card to your hand. So this is a fantastic trigger. It is a trigger that you're not having to actually use out of hand. You're just getting a 2K and we're getting extra value. We see what trigger we have. We see what opponent's card is that we have to deal with next turn. Pretty incredible card, honestly. And definitely a 2K that if we're just running the full Big Mom Pirates archetype, we are definitely running. You're probably slotting this in instead of a Monday or something like that. And next up here we have Charlotte Pudding. Is a 3/2 with 1,000 counter in the Big Mom Pirates type. It's going to read on play. You can add the top card of your life to your hand. And then set up to one of your cost 3 or less Big Mom Pirates type characters as active. So as far as that effect goes, pretty weak. Like, we're really only restanding a Sparrow is like the only card I could really think of. Obviously double swings are strong, but we do have to take a life for it, and restanding a 3 cost doesn't sound that good. And also, as the trigger rests up to one of your opponent's cost 3 or lower characters, that's not very good either. Another card I think I can pretty much guarantee you guys is not getting played. And last but not least of the video here, we have a new 6 cost Big Mom. So now we have a 6 cost, 7 cost, 9 cost, and 10 cost Big Mom. Soon we will have every single cost for Big Mom for sure. But this one is going to be a 6/7, very respectable stat line on play. You can trash 1 card from your hand. Your opponent chooses 1. Your opponent discards 2 from their hand, or trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's life. So, trashing a card from your hand, now your opponent has to choose, right? Do they want to get rid of 2 cards out of hand right now, or do they want to trash a card from the top of their life right now? So, I think the correct answer, at least for me, is always to trash a life, right? 1 card for 1 card is not that bad for your opponent. Obviously, you're developing a 7K body at the same time, which is very strong. But discarding 2 cards from hand is just a lot bigger of an ask. I think the only situation you trash 2 from hand is when you need a certain amount of life to live that turn. Because otherwise, you know, 1 for 1 card just makes a lot more sense to me. But people are saying this card is, you know, insane. Very good for going second, as, you know, going second on 6 Dawn. You didn't always have a very great play, right? You'd play like a 4 cost or like maybe a 3 cost Sparrow. Swing with lead. It wasn't great. But now going on this Dawn, we could just play 6, you know, play this, get our big body, and then next turn, you know, 8 Dawn Kata Curry, 10 Dawn Big Mom, right? It's all set up now. All searchable as well, so really solid card that I think is going to make this deck a lot better for sure. And that is going to be the video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. This was a lot of cards to get through, so I really do thank you for sticking with me until the end. But without further ado, that is going to be the video, guys. Please do like and subscribe if you can. But this has been Jim with Awakened TCG. I'm going to head out of here. Peace.